Hey, Drew, do you mind sacrificing 20 hours of your life to watch Pennyworth, the spinoff to Gotham, for me so we could do a review about it? Oh, I guess I'll do it myself. Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Two, where it's our show where we review things in the world of television, normally doing episode by episode, currently on air shows, season by seasons of shows, or doing these quick impressions where I just wrapped up a binge of a show that has been on my backlog for a while now, and I talk about it for a bit and just get into the finer details of it. Today we are talking about Pennyworth. I describe it as the prequel to the Batman, where it is a canonical spin-off of Gotham, but it's a prequel centering around Alfred Pennyworth, the titular butler. I still remember the joke from the Teen Titans Go to the Movies movie, where Alfred gets his own movie, and I guess in our world he gets his own TV show, which I'm just like thinking to myself, before we get into it, no spoilers. Anything beyond episode 1 will not be talked about at all. I'll be giving either vague or hints or just overall themes, but besides episode 1 and onwards, anything beyond episode 1 will not be covered. So if you haven't even watched Pennyworth, don't worry, this is totally spoiler free for you, so don't worry about it. But for me, I thought this show was, it's not the worst show I've ever seen, but it doesn't have a message. It doesn't have a purpose per se, where I guess the only more recent big prequel that everyone talks about that is perfect and necessary is Better Call Saul, where Breaking Bad was an amazing story. Better Call Saul, as well as much as it was a prequel spinoff, it still equally contributes to the lore of the Breaking Bad world, that it complements each other. This doesn't, where it's already Gotham was already a prequel to their take on the Batman, and so this show they've confirmed it's canonically set in the Gotham universe. But even by episode 1, even I'm starting to wrangle my brain of like, when the hell does this take place in the timeline? Because okay, Alfred is kind of like young, oldish, like I want to say he's late 40s, early 50s, maybe mid 50s if you're pushing it. But in the show, he's like, okay, maybe there's 30 years, but I'm like, it's still the same thing. Like Thomas and Martha Wayne were not that old when we kicked off Gotham Store, which I'm like, again, like I get that you're just telling whatever your actors you're using, you just tell the story that you want to, but it's still like, it's the same creative team, and just already cornering yourself of like, yeah, this is in the same world as Gotham because it's the same team of Danny Cannon and Bruce Heller. They made and produced Gotham the entire run, and they're doing the whole run of Pennyworth. And so for me, I was like, when they announced this was announced back, I think when Gotham's last season was airing back in 2019, but it was going to be airing on Epix, which was going to be allowing them to tell some more mature story, allowing them to get away with a few more things that Fox and like the regular broadcasters would not allow them to do. And so for me, it was like, going into episode 1, I distinctly remember I thought I wasn't going to review for What's in the Two. I had no interest in it at the time, but I still very much was still going into it as like, what is the story you're trying to pitch here? What is it? And ironically, my Epix subscription actually died out after episode 1. It turns out either my mother, who had the TV subscription at the time, she probably cut out the service, so I couldn't even wanted to watch it if I wanted to. And then thankfully, before I get to that, it was on its own streaming platform on Epix, but that's requiring more money. You have to have the subscription already to the channel. And I was like, I'm not going to get into it. Someday I'll watch it. Then luckily it was on TV. A few more episodes were for free, so I watched it on there. And then thankfully it's all on HBO Max, part of the DC TV lineup. It's all on there. So I finally tuned in to catch up. They are producing a 3rd season somehow. I mean, I just wrapped the season 2 finale, and I'm just thinking to myself, you already baffled the storyline enough that I'm like, you basically not destroyed, but like you basically, there was really no purpose here. Like overall thoughts inside my first impressions was like, what is the point of this story? No one was clamoring for a Pennyworth spinoff. Like, another thing I read was like the interview with the original actor, Sean Penwell. I think that was the actor who played Alfred on Gotham. He said, like, I'm actually surprised people were had raised like a couple of eyebrows, like, oh, I want to know about this Alfred story. Honestly, I was like, I never got that vibe at all. Like, I watched all 100 episodes live of Gotham. I never once thought, oh, we need a freaking Alfred spin. I never thought of that at all. Again, Saul Goodman, totally like same thing. Like, I never thought Saul Goodman needed a spin off, but it worked. It worked out. In this case, it's just like, I don't freaking know what you're trying to do with this story. I really don't know. Like, yeah, you're trying to tell the origin story of Alfred Pennyworth. How did he become the faithful butler to the Waynes? And the way they were trying to like tie it in the show, it just like they were doing stuff for the sake of trying to make it seem like a Batman show, but it isn't. Because again, you were already trying to make a Batman show with a young Bruce Wayne / teenage Bruce Wayne by the line without him being Batman. So what was the advantages of doing a Pennyworth show? Well, they're in Europe. They're using the wartime efforts to their advantage to kind of tell a different. So I will say this: it's telling a different story. It's not trying to be how does Alfred get to Gotham. That's definitely not the story we're painting here. I don't even think they mentioned Gotham City once in the show. They just know like, yeah, Thomas Wayne is a rich dude, and Martha Wayne is a, I forgot. I know she's an agent of the No Name League, and that's about it. And Alfred's the main character, and he's just basically he runs a security company. So I guess you kind of have to give like very generic points where like I'm at least thankful like they don't like shove it down our throats about Gotham City or Gotham City. They don't really shove it down there. I'm pretty sure there is the lineage there, but they don't shove it down our throats of like, you know, it's like when Gotham was trying to like put too many bad references or, you know, future like you're gonna be this hero that Gotham needs type of ordeal that Gotham did more leading to its run, just to set up the fact that yeah, Bruce Wayne is gonna be Batman. We all know that. In this case, it's not Alfred Pennyworth's gonna be a butler. Like we're the only thing that like I can really probably guesstimate to why this show exists is kind of to strengthen Alfred's connection with the Waynes and why he cares so much about Bruce. But even in these 2 seasons, and I'm still scared that we're not even going to go past season 3. Like, I don't think season 4 is a possibility. I know there's some changing with Warner Brothers. I know they're trying to cut down a lot of the fat. Season 3, I think, is already in the can, so I don't think they're going to cancel it. But I don't see Pennyworth getting a 4th season. So I really hope they wrap up the story next time because I don't think they're gonna. I really don't know. And again, I'm really surprised they even got to season 2. Like, even watching season 2, I was like thinking to myself, yeah, no spoilers here, but it was more samey. It felt like something you could concise in a movie, but they stretched out to 10 hours of television. Which I was like, well, thankfully we didn't need an Alfred movie, but I'm still like very baffled to the fact of like, that's what we got. But by the end of it, it was just, it's forgettable. Like I will tune in to see season 3, but in terms of the characters, like I'll give credit. Jack Bennett, Bonnet, I'm sorry I'm butchering the actor's name. He does a good Alfred. It's very similar to the Gotham interpretation, and as well as at times Michael Caine's interpretation, which I guess both characters are trying to emulate. So I guess it kind of works out in a way. Like, you know, even though yeah, this is technically not even canon to the Nolan trilogy. It's just they're mostly inspired by that Alfred's take on it, which I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. I'll give them credit there. But you know, this new Alfred seems to be, yeah, you got at some points the essence of the Alfred we'll eventually know in Gotham and in the comics. You know, we know about him, so we got some of the similar core. But Alfred at times, honestly, I felt more like he was kind of like Bruce Wayne at times, like. It's like he was trying to emulate Bruce Wayne, like, you know, in terms of some social aspects he had. Not at the start, but like later on, he kind of felt like it. And maybe I was reading too much into it. Maybe it was just like, oh, we need to have like a Bruce Wayne type character, and all we have is Alfred. Like Thomas Wayne, like him being there is just kind of, he's just talking and he's just there to try to like appeal to his bosses and trying to do what's right. But there's a fine line, but he doesn't really stand out that much. Martha is at least a little bit different, where she is a bit more independent, like not right away. When we see these characters, we don't get the immediate, like, you know, oh, Thomas and Martha Wayne are together or they're in love. We don't get that. It's a little bit different, which I do respect. Like, it takes a little bit of a while to get to certain points that we're obviously aware of. But other than that, like I know Pennyworth's parents. I know he had his girlfriend in the first episode, his friends. I know that, but they're not really memorable. Like I don't really feel the emotional core. I really don't. And don't get me wrong, I tried my best to like sit down and like be very like open, like, yeah, okay, forget it's a prequel. Try to review it as is, and even that, even that out of my mind, it was so hard. Like, I really never felt the purpose of this. I really never did. I think even like having a story of how Gotham became corrupt would have been more intriguing than having an Alfred Pennyworth show, in my opinion. Like, again, I'm not trying to criticize the characters or the reasons why the show was made. It just, what was the purpose of it in the end? Because it's not like they got any big name actors for this. Like, this is all, for me, like, this is all, everyone that's in the show is like first timers for me. I've never seen them before in other projects. So it wasn't like this was kind of like a vehicle for someone else. Like, this wasn't that. It was just, they were telling a story, but the story really doesn't really have much purpose to state its welcome. It doesn't. Like, it's just, I watched all 20 episodes. Not a single point that I felt like we need to see this story to understand why Alfred the way he is. I feel like, yeah, we knew Alfred in like I think in majority of the takes on him, like he was in the war in the Europe, and that hardened him up a little bit. Eventually he came to America to get some work, and then he met up with the Waynes. Like, that was as simple as that. And he was just loyal to them because they kind of took a chance with him. And yeah, I understand in this case they were trying to like give like a more symbolic connection. Like, yeah, there's a reason why Alfred really cares about the Waynes. But even in these 20 episodes, I really don't feel like there's that big bond yet. And again, that's another thing I'm scared of. Like, I don't want them to rush it in the next season just for the sake of wrapping it up. But at the same time, I do want them to wrap it up because there is no guarantee they're getting a season 4. If you're unaware, at the time of this recording, Warner Brothers is changing direction. They're focusing down on the big IPs. And although Pennyworth is really, it's a Batman, I don't think it's that important enough for it to continue telling its story. Because the money's not there anymore. Like, I really don't know. Like, I know a lot of other DC shows got canceled, and so far we're kind of at a limbo since HBO Max hasn't presented its next line of content yet. So we'll see how it goes. But for me right now, like, it doesn't really, like, I don't really see I don't see a reason for this show to exist. Like, and I'm not trying to be an asshole. Like, I know a lot of people got jobs out of this. I know a lot of actors are building their resume, adding to the lore of Batman in some very weird offshoot, but it just feels like it doesn't really, like, I never once saw this show trending. I never once saw this on Twitter, like, really being talked about. The only reason why I care about it or even have a remembrance of it is that it's on my list of, yeah, I've never finished Pennyworth besides episode 4 back when it first aired. And I knew it's always been on there, and I was like, I want to check it off, and I finally did. But at the end of the day, like, it wasn't something that I really felt like accomplished by. It's like, okay, I seen it. I know what they were doing. It doesn't entirely mean I was even intrigued in the story. And I say this in every time I review shows, is that it's, even if the story doesn't make a lick of sense for me, and I'm just talking about me as a person, I at least I look forward to the characters and their dynamics with everyone else. Honestly, besides Alfred, like, it's just curiosity's sakes, and just Alfred as a character, that's basically it. Like, everyone else doesn't really grapple me enough to understand. Even the villains, I don't even understand them, like, at all. Like, I know it's like, they have their own like beliefs, and it's wartime, so it's like everyone wants to believe in something. I get that, but like, literally, like, the villains are the same for both seasons most of the time, and I don't understand anything about their motivations, what they're trying to do. There's just random moments in there that I get lost sometimes, and I was just like, these villains are just not memorable. Like, even in Gotham's case, and again, I know I shouldn't be comparing the parent show to the prequel, but you kind of have to. Where Gotham was, for me, good at the end of the day. Pennyworth was tolerable, but not without purpose. Well, not with purpose, if I have to simplify it like that. And even like Gotham's like villains, like, even though they were very limited, like which Batman villains they can use, like even the villains they did have, like, there was at least a couple of good ones in there. I don't even remember the name of the villain for Pennyworth. I really don't know. Like, there's like a few villains, like a few big bad. They don't even tap into the Batman villains because they can't. They can't. They try their best to this would have really worked out better for it to be kind of like a limited brand new IP series where it has no relation to Batman. It was just a wartime drama and filled with a bunch of innocent civilians. Honestly, it would have been a better pitch for me as that. But the thing is that you slap the name Pennyworth on it, and the only connection is you have the Bruce's parents and Alfred as younger takes on themselves. But I never once thought like, there was like this inclination. And they bring in one more character. I won't spoil who, but like when that character gets introduced, I was like, okay, now you're really like starting to pull for weeds. Like, hey, we got this other character from the comics in here too, so that's gonna get people interested. Like, no, you only did that for the sake of views, and it has really no impact for me, as well as it doesn't really help things out with the Gotham side of things, because even in Gotham, that specific character was even younger. So I was like, what are you trying to do here? Like, I don't know. Like, Jesus, like either Alfred had some really bad years where he aged up to hell, like kind of like how the hell did Ian McGregor get to freaking Alex Guinness from Star Wars as Obi-Wan like in 10 years? Like, I still don't get it. I understand like desert and aging is different for everyone, but like I don't believe it. I can't like that there has to be at least a good 25 years in between this Alfred and the Alfred from Gotham, in my opinion. Because this isn't like, like Gotham was like, Bruce Wayne just suddenly became an adult. No, this was just like we pick it right up. So there is just so many, like, I don't know how to like really speak it anymore. Just at the sake, because I keep repeating my tropes. It's just because there's not really much to say. Like, there really isn't a thing. Like, I'll give it credit if I have to say any positives about it. Yeah, Jack Bennett does a great Alfred Pennyworth. The theme song's kind of cool. I like the beat. I like the rhythm of it. Thomas and Martha are like properly cast, I guess. But besides that, it's like every other element, it's like either predictable, doesn't have an impact on me, and it's just a show that was meant to maybe sell some more bucks and sell some more views with the hardcore. This is not for like the average Batman. This is for the hardcore. Like, you really have to like Alfred as a character to understand his origin story to watch this show. That is like a very niche thing, which I get. Like, majority of like nowadays, you got like so many characters getting their own shows and movies. That like, yeah, you're specifically catering to the hardcore fans. I get that, but like, there's a reason why in the Teen Titans Go movie that they made the joke like Alfred getting a movie would never happen, and ironically, Alfred got a show. And honestly, the prequel to the prequel was very unnecessary, in my opinion. If they never made it, if Gotham was just a one and done tale, they did their 5 seasons and they bowed out forever without any sort of connection to it, I would have been fine. But the fact that, hey, they got a whole, they did 3 seasons of work. I'm happy for the crew. I'm happy for the cast. I'm glad they got a job for 3 or 4 years. I'm happy for that front. But in terms of like the impact, like, again, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like I'm allowed to be critical. Where like for me, there was no impact on it. There was nothing that was. There was not one single thing that stood out for me that of this story that told me like this was necessary to add this connection to Gotham in order to make the story better. It does not. Maybe season 3 will change that. I don't believe so, but we'll see. Also, the DVDs are hella expensive. I'm not even gonna buy that. I'll buy it someday for the sake of my collection, but I ain't gonna buy them. So that's just how much I really don't care for the material. In terms of this show, I don't mean the Batman. You know what I mean? It's just kind of weird. Like, they just make the weirdest decisions on who gets what show, and then it's just. I mean, again, because I'm spinning my tropes here. I really have nothing much to contribute much besides that, but. Because I really can't think of anything more positive to say. Like, the only 2 things were like, actor's good, theme song's good. That's about it. That really is it. My only prediction is that, and this hasn't happened in the show, is that we do get some sort of flash forward with Alfred kind of like morphed into Sean Gotham's take on the character, and then him taking care of a young Bruce Wayne. That would be a cool thing to end it off, just like to kind of connect the shows. And just to get him one more scene as the character. I mean, that's asking for a lot. We'll see how it goes, Season 3, some point this year or next year. For me, the last few weeks of finally getting to finish this show, it was nice to finally knock that show off my list. Whenever season 3 comes out, I'll watch it then. But until then, it does not have a lasting impact on my mind. Like, I will literally have to rewatch the recap when season 3 starts multiple times to understand what the hell we were up to last week, Chad. Because even by the end of season 2, I was like, I don't even know what you're trying to do anymore. I'm tired. I'm gonna go home. Good night. Thank you so much, Dean. But yeah, for me, Pennyworth, it's tolerable. It's not bad. It definitely won't make you scratch your head, but it just doesn't. It's a very neutral show. It exists, and that's it. It doesn't have much of like a positive or a negative. It's there. If you want 20 hours to waste, you can go to that. But if there's any other show on your list, I suggest go watching there. Pennyworth will be there on HBO Max forever. You'll check it out then. So for me, I don't recommend it. I don't. It's not something I would. I will never rewatch this again for the sake of my life. But it wasn't bad. It was not great, not good, but not bad. It's kind of like it's there. It's a show that's there, and that's about it. But again, happy for the crew and the cast. They got work. So kudos to season 3 and see how that goes. So there you go. So let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Pennyworth on FX and soon to be on HBO Max? Let's talk. Let's have a conversation about it. I tried talking to George earlier today, but he just didn't want to talk about it. Which, again, I don't blame him. But let's start the comment down below. But I think that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX reviewing Pennyworth on a quick impression scale. If you want to know what we're doing normally, what's to besides our quick impressions, we're currently doing Walker reviews each and every week, as well as Tom Swift reviews each and every week. So go check them out on youtube.com/ActionX videos, which you can also subscribe at to see more of our videos. Please also ring the bell for notification when our next video is live. Please also like, favorite, share this quick impressions if you want to. And please also ring that bell for notifications, as well as follow us on social media to stay up to date. But until we see each other again, thank you for watching, but until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.